Welcome to GydeBites. Today we are digging into a challenging but crucial question. How do we drive enterprise-wide change initiatives? For a lot of big organization, it becomes a very, very important thing to talk about and discuss. And even for the smaller organizations, if this thing is not taken care of in a efficient, correct manner, the change or the transformation that is going to provide or that is supposed to provide a business value, a lot of business value, becomes an unnecessary burden. So joining me today is Claudia Rebesani. She is a senior change management consultant at Cincinnati Children's. She has over 25 years of experience in change management. She has led transformations across logistics, education, and healthcare. She's very passionate about building lasting capabilities, helping organizations not just manage change, but truly thrive through it. Claudia, welcome to Guide Bites. It's so great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very happy to be here. And thank you for inviting me.
All right. So let's jump in right away. Claudia, what do you think are the challenges businesses, organizations face when they are driving enterprise wide change initiatives? What are, let's say, top three challenges they face?
Yeah. Okay. Well, there are more than three top challenges, but let's, for our audience, just have a quick understanding on enterprise-wide change. Because when we talk about enterprise-wide change, people think about, shiny new systems, like a big rollout. But I think that people forget that is much more complex because we're talking about we're talking about people. So enterprise-wide change is really rewiring, rethinking the way we think, decide, we do work together in a in organization, and how we build a change capability and how we bring people along the change. And the reason why I say that, because often, organization roll out different and several big changes at the same time. And so all this multiple transformation pull employee into different direction, the sensation of being pulling here and there, and you don't really know where the priority is. So that is one of the big challenges, is multiple changes at the same time. Because when we talk about enterprise-wide change, is not really about a one-off change. We're talking about a continuous journey of change in an organization and making sure that people not only adapt and adopt the new change, but they build the change capability. And another challenge, I'll try to keep them down to three, but I have to say that it's quite challenging.
More accept.
But in my Yeah, I know, it's because, as I said, it's complex. But
Yeah, good.
um, in my personal experience, is also a gap in vision. So you have the leaders who have a future state vision on what change is going to be and what change is going to look like. An employee really leave the current state, leave the present. So building that gap and making sure that the organization is aware that change is a journey. Again, it's not a one off event. Um, and then probably the third one is resistance, the concept of resistance, actually the misconcept, because often the resistance is seen as a barrier, but actually I think the resistance is an important element of change, because it really helps to understand where the gaps are, where some of the concern are, and so is important to understand and look at resistance as an important element of change. And so again, we're talking about people, we're talking about human, we're talking about culture and the building the capability of an organization.
Yeah, I mean, Claudia, it is really fascinating fascinating point of view in a way that to look at resistance as a function rather than a barrier to change. Because yeah, as there is a change, there will be a resistance because obviously the current way of working has some pros, it's not all bad always. So there will be a resistance if we introduce any form of new process, new system, or just a new business workflow in a way. Yeah. So that's something really caught my attention when you said that, okay, resistance is something to be not to be thought as a always a barrier, but a function of change in a way. Claudia, let's just move our discussion to the common pitfalls or mistakes, right? So I know there have been a lot of these models, change management models that we talk about, and but what do you think people or the organizations are, what kind of mistakes they are making when they are driving or trying to do large scale transformations?
Well, thank you for the question. It feels like, so I have a lot of experience, as you were saying, like in different industries. But again, where I always start from, my point of view is always that organization, they always intend well. So when they bring a change, it's they really want to innovate and grow the business in the constructive direction. So uh, more than mistake, I call them misstep, because like when we talk about enterprise change, we're talking about organization that have like sometimes thousands of employees.
Mhm.
So um, so one step that I see, actually, that is interesting, is what I call the declaring the victory too soon. It's a bit like, I mean, I don't know if you have that experience too, but when you go through a change, there is the go live date, which is like the finish line. It's almost like you're running a race. They said, "Wow, I've arrived," the finish line. But in enterprise wide change, the finish line is maybe the finish line for the go live, the technical, the switching on of the system in a digital transformation, for example. But it's actually the beginning for people,
Yeah.
because people, yeah. I mean, do you feel the same? Like you completed the training and you start using the system.
Of course, because that's the first day people are actually going to see and use and feel the system, how it works, how it looks, and so on and so on. So yeah, totally. It might be the sort of go live for the tech and the program managers, but it's like a first day for so many users.
Yeah. So it's a bit like, that's when the really work starts, because we're asking these people to shift the way they work, change behaviors, and they need to feel supported. So adoption, again, another misstep, is sometimes it is like an afterthought. So there are this in big millions of investment in digital transformation, and the adoption, the people side, is an afterthought and is not really part of the like part of the strategic planning. So I really think that my rule of thumb is that change management in enterprise wide change should be built right into the budget. I think ProSci, one of the recent research, talked about 10-15% of a like enterprise wide change. 10-15% of the budget should be allocated to change management, so helping people. Um, and another misstep is confusing awareness with commitment. Is a bit like, that sometimes you hear something, you know about it, but are you really committed to doing it? It's a bit like, that you have to do a certain amount of minutes of activity every week, so you are aware of that, but are you actually committed of doing it every week? That is a different story, isn't it?
Yeah,
uh,
yes, of course, and it's like, yeah, I know this, but I'm going to continue doing it an old way. So that's the bigger one to solve, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why, and that you nailed it, and that's where we need engagement. So I think that another misstep that I've seen often is confusing communication with engagement. So communication, like broadcasting, update, timelines, this is what is happening. But engagement, so engaging with the people, so creating a channel where voices can be heard and challenges can be addressed, that is very important. So engaging all the stakeholders, especially the frontline staff, the people, it's very important. And to tell you the truth, you know what, often some of the most valuable suggesting during a big implementation plan, they actually came from the frontline people. So, and that is so that is also very important. So engagement, and so again, I think that when we talk about enterprise-wide change, of course, we're talking about scale. So
Hmm.
there are usually, we're talking about like big changes,
Yeah.
but the people side of the change is the challenge, because at the end of the day, if a change is successful or not, it really depends on the people, doesn't it? If people really uh, adopt and actually embrace the new system.
Yeah, yeah. So you sort of literally led me to the next thing which I was going to ask you about. So how do you sort of? I know there are systems in place, there are these quizzes in place, there are these broadcasting mechanisms in place, but how do you really measure the success beyond, let's say, adoption rates, completion rates? Okay, people have gone through these many tasks or these many quizzes, or they have seen my communications and so on. How do you really measure the success beyond all these usual things that people do as a part of checkbox?
Yeah, well, thank you for this question. I'm really enjoying this because you're really focusing on the real heart of the
Mhm.
issues here. And I love this question because, like in change management, we are a little bit fixed with finish lines, the go live, with the adoption rates, training completion rates. So
Yeah,
if, there is 100% completion rate, that means the new system is adopted. But actually that's not the reality, as you're asking. um, so I think that one of the adoption signals that I've been using and developing over time is what I call the unexpected use test. Is a bit like, people are people using the tool in an unexpected way, or are they just compliant? Because when people start being creative with a new system and using it to problem solve and enrich the way they work, to me that is a big commitment, and that really demonstrates that people are really adopted. They are empowered by the new system. And shifting conversation, uh, for example, from the question, why are we doing this, to the question, how can we make this better, and how
yes.
can we leverage this new system to make our workflow work more efficiently, this kind of conversation. And also, I think that the real measure, and this is specific for enterprise wide change again, because here we're talking about, building the change capability of an organization. So it's not only one off time event, but, like growing over time, I think is the questions really that I see asking. And for me, is a signal of really growing as an enterprise wide change capability, is what new possibility has this change unlocked that didn't exist before. So
Yeah,
growing, that
yeah.
is, like this growth mindset. So change, so this one off time event of changes are in the background, but the organization like move forward and unlock more um, innovative way of working
Yeah.
and growing.
Yeah, I very much concur with what you said in the first, as a first part of the answer, right? So where you mentioned that are people using the system in an unexpected ways, because that's where they are finding the value. Hey, I was doing this, but now I can do lot more with the new system being rolled out. They have not told me this, but it actually works for me. So that's where we are making a difference to the end user or the actual user of that system. Do you sort of nailed that very well, Claudia? One thing that we should talk about also is, we have been talking about these tactical things. How do we make sure? How do we know? How do we gauge the actual adoption? Whether people are liking it, whether people are using it truly in their sort of work, sort of flow, where they are trying to work with on a day-to-day basis. How do we make sure that these changes are sustainable over time? So because the current landscape that we all live in, businesses, processes, technologies change very, very fast. So how do we make sure that the changes that we are introducing, they are sustainable over time?
Yeah. Well, that is a challenging question, and it's that's one of the first questions they ask me at the beginning of every project, and every project and every organization is different, and again, if the organization decides to take the road of enterprise-wide change approach, so change is not seen as a one-off event, then that's where you create sustainability, because you basically embrace change as part of the way you work. And then uncertainty and basically this continuous change, it becomes part of the way you work. So you equip people with new tools through digital transformation, for example, installing a new ERP system or installing AI in the workflow. So those technical transformation, they happen, but to make sure that they are sustained over time, they are embraced, you really need to help the people to understand and make sure that uncertainty
Mhm.
becomes part of what of who they are in the organization and how they work, and they feel supported. So how does it look like in action? Because I really like to be very practical. You need to have executive sponsorship. You need to have leaders that model behavior. You need to have support system, so people feel supported all the time. If they need skill building, knowledge building, they feel psychological safety, so they can raise questions if they don't understand about something about the new system. You need engagement, so you need feedback loop. There has always to be engagement and two-way communication.
Mhm.
Even if the change is decided top down, people still need to feel that their voice is heard.
Yeah.
And so that's where and how you build confidence. Because if people are confident, even if they navigate uncertain time with changes, they see support from their executive, their managers help them to translate how to make this change positive and constructive, and they know where to reach out, and they can where they can ask for support and where they can provide feedback. So as you can see, it's a loop, it's a circle,
Mm.
and it has to be continuous.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. I think you nailed it perfectly that people need to be heard, people need to have support in place, they need to know why it is happening and so on. So, Claudia, before we wrap up, we always ask our guests to leave one tip or one advice to our listeners. So, what one advice you would like to give?
Well, my advice is to change mindset about change. I like we use the word change a lot. So we live in time where change is a constant, and I know that I hear that over and over again everywhere.
Mhm.
I think that a tip that I actually often share during project is to embrace change as a positive and constructive transformation, because where there is change there is growth. If there is no change, there's no growth. So we need to embrace change with positive mindset and growth mindset, because that's part of who we are. And so it's to me that's really where the human part can really uh, be supportive to the organization of growing the mindset, growing the culture of positivity around change, around innovation and growth.
Wow. Thank you so much, Claudia. So I think your one piece of advice, if I could summarize, is change means growth, and we all should embrace it. Thank you so much for joining us on Guide Bites and sharing these nuances and practical takeaways for all of our listeners. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So, and to our listeners, thank you so much for joining in and tuning in to GydeBites. If you find this discussion useful, please share it with your colleagues, your team members, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until next time, I'm your host, Prasanna Vaidya, and this was GydeBites for today. Keep learning, keep adapting, and keep thriving. Thank you.